headings. People are named by name. It's a minor thing, but it's a major thing. I'd like to have the agenda heading amended to reflect that that was something that I wanted on the agenda.
So noted.
Thank you.
All right.
Is that a motion? Or,
Well, that's more of a clerical
okay.
deal than motions. All right. Seeing no amendments to the agenda, can we get motion to adopt the agenda as stated?
So moved.
Second.
We got a first and second. All in favor of the agenda? Motion carries. All right. Brings us to the approval of the minutes. If there are no changes to the minutes from the October 17th public hearing and regular meeting, can I get a motion to accept those minutes?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Got a first and second to approve the minutes. All in favor? Approve the minutes. All right, this brings us to our presentations.
Mr. Chairman, oh goodness gracious, Commissioners, as a veteran myself, it's an honor to get to read these proclamations to you this evening. All right, so the first up is proclamation recognizing veterans. Whereas on Veterans Day, every day, we show our deep appreciation for the brave men and women who have selflessly served, and we honor the memory of those who did not ever make it back home. And whereas for the past 247 years, Georgians and Camden County residents have stepped forward to answer the call to service, continuously exhibiting the unshakable courage upon which our nation was founded. And whereas around 700,000 veterans call Georgia home, and it is these individuals to which we owe an inexpressible debt. If not for their strong desire to protect and defend our way of life, our nation would not be safe, free, and just. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize veterans of yesterday, today, and tomorrow, these individuals are deserving of praise, and their sacrifices serve as a constant reminder that freedom is in fact not free. And whereas the sacrifice of a veteran does not end when he or she leaves the battlefield, and it's important to shed light on the struggles of their transition back to civilian life. And whereas Camden County is home to Naval Submarine Base Kings Bay and 2 United States Coast Guard units, and proudly supports the strong military ties throughout our community. And whereas Camden County is proud to honor the veterans that have served our community through the county government, including veterans of the United States Air Force, Coast Guard, Army, Marine Corps, and Navy. So at this time, I'm going to recognize our current employees who are veterans. We're going to start with the United States Army. Mr. John Archibald, who works for 911. Don Belcher Jr. from Fire Rescue. Charles Byerly from the Sheriff's Office, Nathan Daniel from the Sheriff's Office, Judge Brent Green from Juvenile Court, Larry Hamilton from the Sheriff's Office, Ryan Haney from Fire Rescue, Chris Hanley from the Sheriff's Office, Andrew Harris from Public Works, Troy Johnson from Planning and Development, Ms. Kelsey Kelly from the Finance Department, Samuel Malandrino from Fire Rescue, Steve McKinney from the Sheriff's Office, Shalana McNamee from Public Works, Jonathan Moore, Camden County Fire Rescue, June Mulligan, Camden County Sheriff's Office, Sean Mungan, Fire Rescue, Bo Perkins, Solid Waste, Eric Peterson, Fire Rescue, Charles Ribbon, Public Works, Tyler Schlimmer, Animal Control, and Roshan Spell from the Tax Commissioner's Office. Next is the United States Navy. The most valiant branch of the service, the United States Navy. Chris Bartek from Fire Rescue, Emiko Board from Planning and Development, Mr. Laney Brandt from the Board of Commissioners, Bill Carrera, Emergency Management, Sue Carroll, Solid Waste, Ms. Tiffany Chang from Finance and Budget, Tanner Corder, Two Rivers Gun Range, Dennis Downs, Two Rivers Gun Range, John Draper, Solid Waste, Raul Gonzalez, Camden County Sheriff's Office, Lee Goodyear, Two Rivers Gun Range, Gary Eichard, Two Rivers Gun Range, Christopher Kaiser, Camden County Sheriff's Office, Robert Keefe, Fire Rescue, Sean Kish, Two Rivers Gun Range, Charles McPherson, Sheriff's Office, Carolyn Mills, Fire Rescue, Betsy Parker, 911, Vinnie Passarella, Sheriff's Office, Melissa Rogers, Finance and Budget, Fred Schaefer, the Sheriff's Office, Joseph Sheets from the Sheriff's Office, Michael Spears from Human Resources, Miguel Thigpen from Human Resources, Christian Thomas from Fleet Services, Richard Thompson from the Sheriff's Office, Commissioner Martin Turner of the Board of Commissioners, Scott Van Osdal, Employee of the Quarter, Information Technology, Hector Vasquez Francisco, the Sheriff's Office, Daryl Walton, Fire Rescue, Chuck White, Emergency Management, and Matthew Zink, Facilities Maintenance. Next is the United States Marine Corps. Buck Aldridge, Camden County Sheriff's Office. Charles Bassett, Sheriff's Office. Michael Blockier, Sheriff's Office. Sean Boatwright, Administration. Cedric Brown, Sheriff's Office. Keith Brown, Camden County Fire Rescue. Makoa Carrera, the Sheriff's Office. Michael Chemicki, Public Works. Jonathan Chrisley, Sheriff's Office. Cameron Connor, Fire Rescue. David Douglas, Sheriff's Office. Robert Duckworth, Sheriff's Office. Job Hannon from the Sheriff's Office. Brett Miller, Camden County Fire Rescue. James Minor, Sheriff's Office. And Eric Watson, Sheriff's Office. The United States Coast Guard, Jody Profit from the Tax Assessor's Office, and Grant West from Camden County Fire Rescue. And last and certainly not least, the United States Air Force, Alexander Hoffman from Fire Rescue, and Kimberly Scheel from the Tax Assessor's Office. Therefore, the Camden County Board of Commissioners proclaim November 11th, 2023 as Veterans Day in Camden County. Here signed, Ben L. Casey, Chairman, Camden County Board of Commissioners. And next up, Mr. Chairman, I have a proclamation of the Camden County Board of Commissioners supporting Operation Green Light for
Hold on a
veterans.
minute, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Was there any veterans in the audience? Could y'all please stand?
Once we've read both of the proclamations, we're going to have all the veterans come up for a picture too.
Okay, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas the residents of Camden County have great respect and admiration and the utmost gratitude for all the men and women who have selflessly served our country and this community in the armed forces, and whereas the contributions and sacrifices of those who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedoms and way of life enjoyed by our citizens, and whereas Camden County seeks to honor individuals who have made countless sacrifices for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all, and whereas veterans continue to serve our community in the American Legion, veterans of foreign wars, religious groups, civil service, and by functioning as county veterans service officers in 29 states to help fellow former service members access more than $52 billion in federal health, disability, and compensation benefits each year. And whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition to civilian communities annually, and whereas an estimated 20% increase of service members will transition to civil life in the near future. Whereas studies indicate that 44 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during transition from military to civilian life, and whereas active military service members transitioning from military service are at high risk for suicide during their first year after military service. And whereas the National Association of Counties encourages all counties, parishes, and boroughs to recognize Operation Greenlight for veterans. And whereas the Camden County Board of Commissioners appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel and believes specific recognition should be granted. Now, therefore, be it resolved, with a designation as a green light for Veterans County, Camden County hereby declares through Veterans Day, November 11th, 2023, a time to salute and honor the service and sacrifices of our men and women in uniform transitioning from active service. And now, therefore, it be further resolved that in observance of Operation Greenlight, Camden County encourages citizens in patriotic tradition to recognize the importance of honoring all those who made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve freedom by displaying green lights in a window of their place of business or residence from November 6th through the 12th, 2023. Proclaimed this 7th day of November, 2023, Ben L. Casey, Chairman, Camden County Board of Commissioners. At this time, if we have any veterans that would like to come up, we'd like to get a picture with the commissioners of all veterans that are in attendance if you would like to do that. Yes, sir.
All right, this brings us to our first public comment section of the night. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes and agenda items only, and there will be no yielding of your time. Is there anybody registered, Katie?
I do. I have 7 for the first public comment.
All right, thank you.
First will be Ms. Sharon Rawl.
Where would you like?
The podium.
Good evening. My name is Sharon Rawl. My address is 65 Honey Creek Lane in Waverly, Georgia. Myself, my husband, Corey McGraw, Tommy McGraw, and John Ossick are the only taxpayers on Honey Creek. I'd like for you to bear that in mind, number one. I would like for the immediate adjacent homeowners, property owners, taxpayers, to have access, and they're unavailable, they're out of town. The only one here is Steve and myself. We would like for them to have the opportunity to attend a meeting and make a request that the commissioners table or defer any actions on items 1 and 2 of the agenda tonight until this can be done. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Next, Katie.
Ms. Lee Bowman. Bowman? I apologize if I pronounced her last name wrong. That's okay.
I think I need to speak during the public hearing section. I think you've,
Okay, I'll move you.
Yep.
Okay. Ms. Denise Fuller? Were you wanting to speak during the public? Okay, public hearing. Okay. Mr. Steve Winkle?
Thank you. My name is Steve Winkle. Mr. Casey, your agenda says that you plan to vote tonight to continue spending on an airport that your consultants admit will cost taxpayers over $5 million. That's under the best of conditions. That's the way they have figured out all of the advantages and not necessarily all of the extra costs or disadvantages. Your airport consultants report that there are 17 build-it-yourself kit planes, 50-year-old hobby planes, single-engine, more modern planes, and a few rich folks' twin-engine planes registered in Camden County that might use the airport. Why should all Camden County taxpayers pay for those few to have their little close-by airport? If millions can be spent for a few plane owners, then the Camden County Commissioners should, among other things, operate a county bowling alley, reopen the Pro 3 mini golf, build adult fitness trails at every park, and provide playgrounds for kids of all ages. It's a simple equation. $1 million or so spent on a bowling alley, mini golf, and fitness trails will serve thousands of Camden taxpayer citizens rather than the millions spent for a few airplane owners. That $5 million I mentioned comes straight off the Camden County, Georgia Airport Sponsorship Financial Plan. The exact number is right here. This is a presentation made by your consultants. Is $5,018,914, with the first profit possibly occurring in 2038, followed by 2 years of possible profits and then another year of negative income. Therefore, the $5 million is the least amount that it could possibly cost Camden County based on the information that comes from your own folks. Tonight, one of you put an airport resolution on the agenda asking Camden taxpayers to commit to an airport investment before conducting the required FAA cost-benefit analysis. In order to qualify for the national of 90% federal funding, there has to be sufficient benefit to cost. But if you sign tonight, Camden taxpayers keep spending on it without the required analysis. You should delay any vote until the cost-benefit analysis required by FAA Order 5100.38 ensures the feds will pay their amount. And that's in paragraph right here on this page of a document that I'm sure none of you commissioners have even seen.
Your time's up, Mr. Winkler.
Thank you.
Mr. Ricky Manning? Yes, sir. I'll make sure I incorporate that. Ms. Nita Dasher? Oh, I'm sorry. Are you
I'll
still
have-
speaking?
Yeah, I'm gonna speak on another item. I'm Rick Manning from Bullhead. We're gonna speak on item number 3 on the agenda. I've got more about the spaceport here, Mr. Casey and Commissioners. Speaking of the FFA benefit cost analysis, federal rules do not allow counting money that was previously spent at another airport to count as an economic benefit for Airport Camden. For instance, fuel sales at Airport Camden will likely just divert fuel sales from some other airport. Those are simple fund transfers and do not create new economic values. That is on page 5 of this document, which I hold right here. If anybody needs these documents, the FFA Airport Benefit Cost Analysis Guidance. So the $227,000 on fuel sales shown on page 27 in these documents, the airport sponsor plan likely won't count in the FFA's benefit cost analysis. Even worse, fuel will be sold self-serve, just like it is at any other small airports or at Circle K or the Jiffy Store. There won't be a job at the pump either. Same old, exactly like the spaceport fiasco. The real costs and real obligations on taxpayers are unknown or have been hidden from taxpayers. That is why another consultant's airport justification study you showed us in September fails to mention the missing but required FAA benefit cost analysis. Instead, they used a metric, sponsor's financial capacity. In other words, just like the purchase of any luxury item, can we write a check for it and it won't bounce? Well, that tax money that you commissioners can afford for an airport, I'd rather you reduce my taxes and leave my money in my pocket so I can spend it in Camden County on whatever my family needs. Airport consultants and promoters tell us that the Fernandina Airport is overcrowded and does not have enough airplane storage hangars. But official Fernandina documents prove otherwise. They're all right here, Fernandina documents. So I don't know where your information's coming from. One, they've had additional hangars in the master plan since 2017, but none have been built. And two, the city of Fernandina spends hundreds of thousands of dollars on their airport out of general funds to keep from bouncing airport checks. All that's in there. Fernandina report right here too. It's available for you if you want to see it. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Nita Dasher?
Nita Dasher, Harriet's Bluff. Mr. Casey, I've got more about the airport. And don't forget that the St. Mary's Airport didn't contribute much to our economic development. In fact, old timers will recall that there have been a lot of vacancies around the airport. So many, in fact, one hangar building was bought by a church to use as a basketball court. Did any companies claim they were quitting Camden because the airport closed in 2017? And is there a chance the airport increased the visitation to Cumberland Island National Seashore? If so, did those certainly very few fly-ins spend money on our restaurants and hotels? And you really should know that the Fernandina Airport has only 2 full-time workers in 2023, with 5 times the aircraft Camden hopes to have in 2041. Frankly, Camden has a really hard time with the details of big projects. The US 17 bridge widening got away from you. You let some sweet-talking consultants pad their pockets while you pursued the spaceport from heaven. You interfered with the National Park Service management of Cumberland Island when you didn't overturn Planning Department's lunar variance decision that failed the 5 criteria tests written into our zoning code. Your gun range loses money and generates some serious OSHA and environmental risks. The PSA has been leaderless for at least a decade.
PSA and the gun range and stuff is not on the agenda. If you want to speak about the airport, speak about the airport, please.
The last thing your county commissioner has and his management team needs is another project that they know absolutely nothing about. You can vote tonight to finally get your heads out of the stars and the clouds. Tell the special interests that if you want an airport, they can pay for whatever the FAA and state and operations income won't cover, but not a penny from taxpayers. Thank you.
Mr. Ben,
Order. She was speaking.
I'm sorry, Mr. Winkle. Mr. Winkle.
The PSA is not part of this agenda. Next, please.
She was speaking about your behavior.
Mr. Winkle, do you want to be removed? Do you want to be removed? Please be quiet. Next, Kate.
Mr. Bengal.
My name is Ben Goff and I live at Harris Bluff, not by the airport. But I am addressing the airport, the proposal. Most folks don't care. Most folks don't pay any attention to Facebook. And that's an admitted thing. However, we've done a couple of polls on Facebook on a group that has over 1,200 members. Now, the specific polls concerning the airport, 92% of those polled were against Camden County spending $1 on a general aviation airport. In addition to that, 95% of those polled would support a petition to overturn anything that you do in that regard. The Georgia Supreme Court stated almost emphatically, but I do have to paraphrase, if you don't listen to the people, then you're going to get referendums. You're going to get petitions for referendums. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Kate.
That's all I have registered for this time.
Anybody from the public wish to speak? Nobody? We'll move on. All right, this brings us to item number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item up for the board's consideration is the intergovernmental agreement with the Georgia Department of DNR. This is for the Honey Creek Boat Ramp construction. This agreement is a 3-year agreement. Georgia DNR has indicated that there is a significant gap in water access along the Intracoastal Waterway mainly to the Satilla River. So I know the board has been working with DNR as well as the Episcopal Church for some time now, but this is the final rendition of that agreement. DNR will be providing the cost for the construction and installation of the boat ramp. From there, the board will need to consider just general maintenance, dollars just for upkeep of the ramp itself, as well as, maintaining and, cleaning the restroom that'll be on the, ramp itself. But that is the, agreement that you have in front of you for approval this evening. If there are any questions, I'll take those now.
Anybody got any questions?
Mr. Boatright, has this been thoroughly vetted through the public hearing process?
So this is just the initial start of the agreement process. So Georgia DNR will have their own public hearing, which will be held in Camden for the actual project itself. I do have Mr. Paul Metters here if he wants to come up from DNR. He can also speak on that as well.
Good evening. Paul Metters with the Georgia Department of Natural Resources. Thank you to the commission for having us here tonight, and I'd be glad to answer any questions about the boat ramp that we can answer.
The question, Mr. Vetter, is will the public have the opportunity to provide input as to how this may affect them and impact their property in that area?
That's not something that we normally do as public hearings for a boat ramp. I mean, it's something that we would consider if that's something that the county wants to do. I feel like that's up to the county to decide. Because ultimately the county owns the boat ramp. Ultimately, it's a county facility. This would be the Department of Natural Resources would be putting dollars in that are federal dollars, that are sport fish restoration dollars. That's the excise tax when you buy fishing gear. And so you can look at it like a user fee. It benefits anglers. They're the ones paying for that money, and they're the ones getting the benefit of it. I will say, like Mr. Boatright pointed out, I'm pretty passionate about public access. We've got 500,000 acres of estuaries in Georgia, 368,000 acres of salt marsh, and it belongs to the citizens of Georgia. And we have very limited public access. And as we all know, the population of coastal Georgia is growing really rapidly, and having more public access from the department's opinion is a good thing. That's allowing those citizens to be able to access those waters for recreation, whether it's kayaking, whether it's fishing, whether it's boating. And those of y'all that live in that area know that that location has had limited public access for years. My mentor at DNR tried to make this happen for about 25 years, and somehow the stars aligned between us and some of the commissioners and the Episcopal Church to make this happen. So I always look at that like folks are going to think it's a good thing. I know it won't make everybody happy, but that's overall, I think your angling community and your boating community would be happy with something like this.
Thank you.
Do part of those fees come from license fees as well? Or-
So we have some money that does come in for boating access. That is money that comes from license fees, your fishing license. But the majority of that money will come from that sport fish restoration funds, which all the states get. That's, so there's a.
Yes, sir. Okay.
And we may still apply for a grant. There's a Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program grants that have funded a lot of boating access projects in our area, and we may approach that source for funds also.
I've been to the Honey Creek several times. That's a great place, as a matter of fact. Chapel's beautiful. My question is, Ms. Rawls, what she was saying is there are only 3 houses down there close to that boat ramp. I think your major concern is traffic. Am I correct? You'll have more traffic down there close to your house. Is there a way to alleviate that? Or how much traffic do we have at other boat ramps? I mean, what are we talking about?
It varies.
Anybody got an idea?
There is a concept, for a parking lot to have adequate, and I don't know how that's calculated exactly from an engineering perspective, but I'm sure there's some type of formula that goes in to figure out how many spaces you need per size of the boat ramp or proximity.
And I think you guys live right there. Am I correct?
There has been discussion with Bridgepoint. Bridgepoint would donate, Robbie Cheeks here, one of the engineers with Bridgepoint, that they would donate some additional land for parking too if needed.
It's not a large facility compared to what some of the boating access facilities look like up and down the coast. And that's, I think, mainly a factor of the amount of land that the county owns in that right of way and the amount of land that would have for a parking lot. And I think getting to this point with the Episcopal Church was pretty significant. Like I said, we've talked about it for a long time. And I think if Bridgepoint wanted to offer some more parking, that might be something for the future. Something we hadn't talked about other than just in casual conversation. We do have a concept plan, and I can't tell you off the top of my head how many parking spaces are in it, but we could get that answer for you.
I think if you could alleviate the traffic, and I know you're not going to alleviate all of it, they got to use it. But I think that's need to really talk with these folks, if that's
And
possible.
I mean, we're willing to talk. I mean, we had talked about the need for privacy fence or shrubs or something to, we're sensitive to adjacent property owners. I mean,
Mr. Chairman.
Questions, sir?
Yes, come to the microphone, Steve.
My question, they commented on public, access to the Stella River. The Woodbine ramp is still open. The one at White Oak is still open and the one at US 17 is still open. And there's always room to get in and out of there. So I don't see the need for this project to go on with that amount of money. They're going to talk about spending there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
I don't.
Did we get a motion on this item?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We got a first and a second to approve the intergovernmental agreement with Georgia DNR. Any more discussion?
Gentleman from DNR threw it back to us. I think it's incumbent upon this board to be sure that all of the constituents in that area who are affected by this are heard, number one, and that if this proceeds, I've never seen the lack of parking stop a fisherman from going fishing. And I have questions about if that's a slammed boat ramp on any given day, how it's going to affect the egress to that property and how it will affect the neighbors. I'd like to have a discussion with the board on that issue. Thank you.
Well, we got a first and a second on the approval right now. If that fails, we can venture along those lines. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Okay, the motion fails. All right, I'll make a counter motion to that we set up we move this to the next county commissioners meeting, and that'll give you all time to study and rebut it.
Thank you.
I second that motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
All those in favor? Those opposed?
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this brings us to item number 2.
Commissioners, this is following the first agenda item, which would have be to approve a real estate option agreement with the Episcopal Diocese of Georgia Retreat Center for the construction and development of the Honey Creek boat ramp. So I will leave it up to you whether or not you would like to either decide on this evening or push this to the next agenda. This is a purchase option agreement. The total purchase price would be $125,000. That would be funded out of impact fees, not out of the general fund.
Does this current offer expire at any certain time, or would it?
So it is contingent upon the county receiving DNR approval for all the permitting. So if we do not receive all of those approvals, then that money, the deposit, which is $50,000, would be refunded back to the county. And it's a 2-year term on this agreement.
To get it finished and built.
This is 50,000. Is it called earnest money?
Correct, basically, yes,
So
sir.
you can get that, you can add that to it. Now, if we decide not to do it, will you get the $50,000 back?
Only if like if you all just agree to go forward with it and for whatever reason you decide to back out or DNR does not approve through their permitting process, then yes. And it's vice versa. I mean, if the church would like to back out, they can do so as well.
Yep. I'll make the motion. It only makes sense that we just move this to our next meeting to keep it with the
Second.
same item. So
I will say that, using impact fees, that's fees that are paid that of development that has occurred. If you build a house or store or something in the unincorporated area, you have to pay impact fee, and those fees are what will be used for this. All right, so we got a,
for the maintenance.
person for buying the
All
property.
right, gotcha.
We got a first and second to delay this to the next meeting. All in favor? Those opposed? All right, this brings us to item number 3.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on to the resolution, I would like to just briefly just go over with you a case study that was done by GDOT back whenever they did their last economic impact study for the whole state, all of the airports within the state. This is a case study from Cook County, which is to the west of us. But out of this study, I'm just going to read this for you before we get into the resolution. But with an eye on the local economy and an understanding of the importance of a first-class general aviation airport, the 2030 Greater Cook County Comprehensive Plan identified the need to expand and update the Cook County Airport. The renovation of the existing airport began in 2010, and Cook County now has a business-ready airport facility that rivals any general aviation airport in Georgia. The airport has 2 runways, one 4,000 feet and one 5,500 feet long, jet fuel, and an aircraft repair station. The terminal houses the Cook County Economic Development Commission. The terminal has a state-of-the-art board and conference room. Strategically located near Interstate 75, Cook County is focused on the future. That future includes economic growth and diversification. The county's primary industrial park is adjacent to the airport. This park consists of a 3,000-acre mega site and a 350-acre Georgia Ready for Accelerated Development site. The grad program offers 60-plus industrial certified sites in the state that are ready for fast-track construction projects through advanced due diligence. AcceleraUp, Cook County's custom construction program, speeds facilities completion and drives down cost. This local program is powered by an industry-leading and in-county custom metal construction sector. The Cook County Economic Development Commission works with both new and existing employers to provide both job retention and growth. Cardinal CT is an existing industry that recently expanded. The company is a leading commercial and architectural glass fabricator. 3 reasons the company chose its site in Cook County were the location, the airport, and the local workforce. All economic development groups in Cook County recognize the important role that its improved airport plays in job retention and attraction. Before the airport was expanded, the area was not competitive for some economic development opportunities. Airports in Georgia are major contributors to the state's economy. The airport's annual economic impact comes from the day-to-day operation of the airport associated with the airport's management function, activities associated with aviation-related business tenants at the airport, impacts from annual average capital investment, and expenditures from visitors who arrive via the airport. The airport's annual economic impacts are presented below. GDOT last measured the airport's annual economic impact in 2011, and since that time, the airport's annual economic impact has increased. Jobs have increased from 18 to 24, annual payroll from 468,000 to 677,000, and annual economic activity from 1.6 million to 2.5 million. The reason why I bring that case study to you is that one, Cook County has an interstate running through its corridor. It is a much smaller county, only about a third of the size of Camden County, actually less than a third of the size. So I just bring that to you because every economic opportunity that comes to our joint development authority, the very first question most of them always ask is, do you have an airport? So Camden County is being cut off of every economic opportunity as it stands now, mainly because we do not have access to that. So moving forward, the resolution for tonight, I'll read through this as quickly as possible. The resolution of the Camden County Board of Commissioners in support of the design, construction, and operation of a general aviation airport in Camden County, Georgia. Whereas the St. Mary's Airport was constructed in the late 1960s and operated continuously as a general aviation airport until September 14th, 2017. And whereas the Department of the Navy requested the St. Mary's Airport be closed following the September 11th terrorist attacks due to the airport's close proximity to the Naval Submarine Base Kings Bay. And whereas the City of St. Mary's, Camden County, the Georgia Department of Transportation, and the Federal Aviation Administration jointly worked together to form a plan to close the St. Mary's Airport and construct a replacement general aviation airport in a location that would not negatively impact the Naval Submarine Base. And whereas the Department of Defense provided approximately $4.5 million in funding to the Georgia Department of Transportation to assist with the development and construction of the replacement general aviation airport in Camden County upon the closure of the St. Mary's Airport. And whereas an economic impact study completed in 2010 under contract with the Georgia Department of Transportation indicated that the St. Mary's Airport had a total annual economic impact of $2.5 million or $3.5 million in 2023 dollars. And whereas Camden County, Georgia, a political subdivision of the state of Georgia, by and through the Camden County Board of Commissioners, desires to construct and operate a general aviation airport in Camden County, Georgia. And whereas there exists a gap in the state of Georgia's general aviation system in Camden County. And whereas it is the intent of the Camden County Board of Commissioners to improve the quality of life for its citizens by promoting increased economic opportunity and enhancing the county's standing for future economic development and prosperity. And whereas the county approved a resolution to become the sole sponsor for the construction and operation of the general aviation airport on January 18th, 2022. And whereas the county completed the airport sponsorship financial plan in July of 2022, as requested by the Georgia Department of Transportation and the Federal Aviation Administration to determine the financial impacts for the construction and operation of the replacement airports. And whereas the county initiated a justification study in early 2023 to complement the airport sponsorship financial plan as requested by GDOT and the FAA, which determined there are 35 licensed pilots and 17 addressed aircrafts within Camden County. And whereas the county desires to affirm its commitment for the construction and operation of the replacement general aviation airport, and therefore be it resolved by the Camden County Board of Commissioners as follows. The Board of Commissioners expresses its support for the construction of a replacement general aviation airport in Camden County. The Board of Commissioners states its intention to provide funding to support the funding of and to match grants from both the Federal Aviation Administration and GDOT to be used to acquire property, perform studies, provide for engineering design, and construct the replacement general aviation airport. And to the county administrator and his designee are hereby authorized and directed to collaborate with FAA and GDOT on the procurement and review of plans, cost estimates, construction schedules, and other details of the replacement general aviation airports. So with that, I will leave it to you for your consideration. Thank you.
Going back on a little timeline on this, after 9/11, 2001, the airport was designated a security risk for Kings Bay. In 2005, GDOT completed the first site selection study. 2016, the Department of Defense assisted in removing the remaining federal obligations of closing the St. Mary's Airport. The airport closes in 2017. In 2018, GDOT completed another update on the site selection study that included 28 sites. 2019, an exploratory committee was established that included the Board of Commissioners, City of St. Mary's, City of Woodbine, City of Kingsland, the JDA, and GDOT. Meetings were held by this group between January 19 and late 2021. This committee concluded their meetings with a recommendation to move forward with the replacement airport. Again, in January 2022, the Board of Commissioners unanimously approved a resolution naming the county as a sponsor for the replacement airport. mainly due to it more than likely being in an unincorporated area of Camden. The cities, I think they only wanted to participate if it was going to be within their city limits. In June 22, the county completed the financial study for the construction, maintenance, and operation of the replacement airport. At the beginning of this year, we started the next planning phase of the replacement airport, which was the justification study. It was completed in September. We plan on doing another site update because we've got a couple of more sites we want to consider. Anybody else want to add to that?
Mr. Chairman, just before any other questions are asked, I do have Blake Swafford, who was back here in September, who presented the justification study to you all. He is on the call as well, in case you have questions for him.
Anybody got any questions for Blake?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
it was brought up tonight that we haven't done the benefit cost analysis. That is not required for a replacement airport. It would be for a new one, but not for replacement. It could be called for, but it has not been called for by the FAA. That needs to be on the record.
Thank you. Yeah, this is and always been a replacement airport for the one that was closed in St. Mary's. Can I get a motion on this item?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We got a first and a second to approve the resolution. Any discussion? All in favor? Those opposed? It passes 4-1.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add one more little comment.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Goodman was 100% for this last month. I have his quote right here that he made. He supported it wholeheartedly, said it'd be foolish not to do it, but tonight he wants to vote against it.
So what?
Well,
I have the ability, listen, follow this very carefully.
I don't have to follow
I
it very
listen
carefully.
to the public. And since we decided that, and yes, I was 100% for it.
Yes, you
I
were.
have now, yes, I was. I'm not disputing that, but listen to me. I listen to the constituents. They are my bosses. I have received more communication from the public as opposed to this airport than for it. So I am therefore representing the people who elected me. If you have a problem with that, the problem is yours. And I would appreciate it, Mr. Chairman, if you would put a muzzle on that monkey and not let.
Hey, this,
He just.
you don't want to go there, old man. You don't want to go there.
that's enough. That's
I
enough.
don't want to go there. Right
Went
now.
there.
That's enough, both of you.
It shows what a asshole he really is.
No.
Yeah.
All right. All right, this time we need a motion to adjourn the regular meeting and convene a public hearing.
So moved.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
First and second to convene a public hearing. All those in favor? All right. This brings us to the special use. Joel, you ready?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. The first item up would be a request for a special use approval to allow an outdoor event on a property located in District 1 on Horsesnap Road in Waverly. The applicant is seeking permission to host a Christmas drive-through event that includes a Southern Lights display, a marketplace, entertainment, food and dining, as well as various other activities. Now, this event is scheduled to take place across two combined parcels, which encompass an area of a little over 359 acres. As you can see from this aerial shot here, both parcels are outlined in red with the blue dividing the parcels in two. This is an aerial shot of the zoning. As I just stated, it's highlighted in red, both parcels with the dividing line highlighted in blue. One parcel is zoned AR with a little over 59 acres to that particular parcel. The other parcel is zoned AF with 300 acres. And I would like to note that part of that parcel is zone conservation preservation, which is roughly about 100 acres of that conservation, which none of this will actually take place on that. It's actually marshland. Now, we did ask the applicant to provide us with a traffic plan, and you will find that traffic plan in your packet. This traffic plan was in concern of the residents in that area to make sure that it was in a controlled manner, as well as the safety aspect of it as well. As you can see from this aerial shot, it's a traffic control plan. The entrance is in the top right-hand corner, located off of Horse Stamp Road. The traffic flow will go all the way around to what they're identifying as Christmas Island, where most of the activities will take place. It'll continue around and exit on Horse Stamp Road as well. The distance between the entrance and the exit is roughly 1,200 to 1,300 feet between those two. This would be an aerial shot of that Christmas Island. We have asked, as well as I stated before, the parking plan, which they provided a little over 600 total spots, which do include handicap parking as well as bus parking.
Right.
We have also asked the applicant to reach out to the Sheriff's Department, as well as Public Works, the Health Department, and Fire and Rescue for approvals. We did receive those letters from each department, letters of approval, I should say. Now, the Planning Commission does recommend approval, but with the following conditions. The first being, before the event can proceed, a license issued from the Department of Agriculture will be required. The Department of Agriculture typically oversees festivals, which would actually oversee the food as well as the sanitation of this event. As I stated before, Public Works has granted approval for this, contingent upon the requirement that photographs are taken of the driveways both before and after the event. If any damage occurs during the event, the owner will be responsible for the cost associated with repairing any damage to Horse Stamp Church Road and its right-of-ways. Condition number 3, oversee and manage any and all trash along Horse Stamp Church Road and its associated right-of-ways. The last and final would be public parking shall be prohibited along Horse Stamp Church Road and its right-of-way for this event.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make a statement or I could add another condition onto this.
I got a feeling we're gonna probably add quite a few more.
Well, we are, but there's one stands out. I know the Sheriff's Department has agreed to this, but I think they need to have the Sheriff's Department, if this does pass, it needs to be traffic control constantly, not as needed.
So you
Anytime
want,
it's functioning, there should be deputies there to direct traffic if they're expecting the number of cars they're talking about.
so you want deputies on site.
Yes.
Should do that after the public hearing.
Well, I don't know. All right. Any other comments by the commissioners right now?
One of the things that was told to me is that they need at least a buffer zone. Because apparently you guys have already started setting up, the lights are already on. And it's already disturbing the neighborhood. So what I was told is you need a buffer zone. And I think that's important.
Well, when I was looking over the UDC, first, let's look at what definition of special use is. Special use is that would not be appropriately, generally, or without restrictions throughout the zoning district, but which, if controlled as to the number, area, location, or relation to the neighborhood, would promote the public health, safety, welfare, morals, order, comfort, convenience, appearance, prosperity, or general welfare. Such uses may be permitted in the zoning district as a special use. The specific provisions for such special uses are made in this zoning ordinance. Approvals of special uses are permanent and run with the land unless in violation of the conditions of the approval or UDC violations. Violations of the conditions of approval or UDC code violations can trigger revocation by the county commission. Revocation shall be effected by the following: by following the same procedures as initially approved. Special use approvals for non-residential uses expire after 1 year of activity. Also, once granted, a special use can only be altered by the approval of the Board of Commissioners, not by staff or anybody else. But I will say that, I know that we wouldn't put a drive-in theater up there, but if we did, it would be required to have buffers and the lighting would have to shine away from any other residents. If it was a home occupation business, that home occupation would only be able to sell goods produced on that piece of property. They wouldn't be able to transport goods in and sell on that piece of property. There's also, I've heard complaints about the height of some of these light structures they're wanting to do. If it was, if they were building a house, it would be limited to 35 feet. And you mentioned zoning buffers. If it was a commercial operation, you would have to have buffers. And these buffers are not just a vacant piece of property, but it would have to be vegetated or some type of structural buffer to prevent you from seeing in or out. So those are some of my concerns about it. Also, if it was they're starting at 5 or 5:30, but there's no ending time, which is a problem for me. You could end it at 10 o'clock during the week, and maybe Friday and Saturday go a little longer. But those are some of my concerns. Anybody else?
I heard from a couple of constituents, and I asked them to come in force tonight and to speak at the podium. Unfortunately, I've not heard any of them.
Well, they're fixing to get their opportunity.
Okay. Thank you.
So, anybody got anything else from the board?
I'll wait till we get out of the public hearing.
Okay. All right. So, anybody from the public wish to speak in favor of this item? Yes, ma'am, come up.
I'm Lee Bauman. I reside at 16 St. Andrews Drive, Jekyll Island. And I am one of the partners with Jekyll Island Promenade Partners who are putting on the Southern Light Show and are property owners. Mr. Chairman, a couple of your concerns I'd like to address. First off, we're very excited about being able to bring a family-friendly event for children to Camden County. And it's something that an old-fashioned light show is something that I remember from my childhood. We drove all over South Georgia to see lights in various places. So we're excited about that. We've got some wonderful partners that have partnered with us. The Georgia Department of Agriculture and their Georgia Grown Division. We will be featuring not only our honey, which agritourism is a big part of how family farms and agricultural areas are surviving now, is featuring this event in all of their publications throughout the state. We've also worked very closely with Okefenokee Electric and their Georgia magazine, which is the Rural Electric magazine, which is actually the largest magazine in the state of Georgia, is featuring this event for us, and are very excited to have something in Camden County get that kind of attention throughout the state, especially something that we really need. We did a lot of study and really looked at other events that happen. We have Incanchito right down the street from us that does their fall event, and it's staged out over a period of weeks, just as we are planning. And we really want to be good neighbors to everyone. And the way that we've set this up is that folks purchase their ticket in a 30-minute window. And in that 30-minute window, we can control the number of tickets that are sold so that we don't become overwhelmed. And again, you said it started at 5:30. The last ticket sold during the weekdays during our non-peak time is 8:30. So this is a children's event, so it's not going to be running late into the night. Our last tickets sold on the weekends and during that week, right before Christmas, sort of those peak times, is 9:30. We've got a lot of students that are working their first jobs here. We've got 45 seasonal staff that we're employing. A lot of teachers will hold second jobs with us, and need to get to school in the morning. So we're gonna try to wind it up early. The other thing is parking. On our property with the nearly 360 acres, and being able to block those 30-minute time periods out and the number of folks that we're allowing to come in, we are able to really help control that traffic, because as was shown, we can handle a long queue. And so our show doesn't really begin until about 1,000 feet into our property, because they pull on and fall into a queue that they're lined up and will begin to go through the show. I do want to address the concerns that lights are bothering neighbors. We have not turned lights on. The Horse Stamp Inn does have some lights they keep on all the time that reflect off of our pond, but we have not had lights on running continuously. We've tested some in the back of the property, but we have not been running lights continually at all. But the Horse Stamp Inn does keep theirs on continually, and they do reflect off our pond. But I think the main concern is we definitely want to be good partners. We don't want to overwhelm with traffic, and the Sheriff's Department has worked fantastic with us, as has Planning and Development, just to ensure that we keep the volume at a reasonable level. We're able to book those tickets and get those folks onto our property. We are, through our marketing, asking that they come in on I-95 so that, it's a one-way situation, and they come out the western entrance of our property. And during peak times, we'd like to control that traffic and suggest they turn left to 17 to exit, just so that we don't have a crossing of traffic with folks coming in and folks trying to get back to 95. So we've given a lot of thought with that. We've worked with the Sheriff's Department very closely on that. And the recommendation that we left with the Sheriff's Office was, especially on peak nights, we're absolutely in agreement of having a sheriff's deputy there to be able to get folks in and out on a timely basis. Thank you.
Go anywhere.
Okay.
Anybody got any questions?
You're gonna do this every night until January 1?
No, so we have 3 Mondays that we think will be, a little bit slower times. That's the 27th of November, December the 4th, and December the 11th. That we will not be operating. But by spreading it out, it's been very effective for other things. That way, if we just did this 2 or 3 weekends, and everybody in South Georgia tried to come, they'd be, backing up I-95. That's not the kind of event that we want to have. We want something that we can handle. Folks aren't standing in line with small children to get their picture with Santa, or to ride the little children's train, or, even eat a barbecue sandwich. We just, don't want it to be an overwhelming number of folks, because then their experience is not what it should be.
How many people you've already sold tickets, right?
We have started selling tickets. Yes, sir.
How many per night are you looking at?
Well, we don't really know, just because, it's a little bit away. And I mean, a lot of folks aren't buying, making their plans of what they're going to do the 20th of December right now. But we can park on our property, 200 folks if they came in at once. But of course, obviously we haven't sold that many tickets. But, if we have 200 a night on peak nights, I think that would be a lot of folks. Obviously, especially on the weekends. And as kids are out of school and things like that, we expect that, to increase. But we've also working with a lot of churches that are bringing, youth groups and senior citizen centers, in buses. So that's, a good number of people, but it's eliminating the traffic congestion because they're all coming on a bus.
So how many cars are you staging per 30 minutes?
We can stage up to 200 if we need to. But that's just the space that we have. I don't anticipate us having 200 every 30 minutes coming in.
What's the most amount of tickets that you'll sell either per night or per 30-minute increment?
Well, at this point, we really just need to see what we can handle. But if
Okay.
it starts getting close to that 200 number, I think we would absolutely, certainly cut that off in a 30-minute period.
Okay.
And, really, when you think about it, that's about the number that would pull in on Sunday morning in a medium-sized church. So, we don't want to create lots of congestion. And I don't think we will, given the fact you've got a 40-night period, you can choose to attend. And we're doing a lot of incentives for Boy Scout troops and youth groups, things like that, to come on sort of the off nights. We do a military discount on Monday nights, Tuesday night teacher and school staff discounts to sort of bring folks out on those non-typical nights to kind of keep it a little more steady through the week. And senior Sundays.
I tell you what I like is when people actually talk to one another. I would talk to the folks in that neighborhood. If you're going to change their neighborhood, you got to get permission. Even though you bought the property and they bought their property, and I would go and talk to them. And matter of fact, I would table this until you guys get together. Personally, I would.
Well,
I know I just said I would.
Yeah.
we may get to that.
Well, we have knocked on doors that we can. As neighborly as it seems in the country, there are a lot of gated communities where we live. And if I saw a gate open, I went in and knocked on the door. But our gate's open all the time, I can assure you.
There's several of them here, so you can grab
Right.
some of these
Well,
folks.
Absolutely. And we did talk to the two folks that did come to the planning meeting after.
Excuse me, sir, can you, no comments from the public yet. You'll have your chance to speak in just a minute. So.
Yeah.
So,
No, and we did discuss those that came to the planning meeting. We spoke with both of them after the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else wish to speak for this? Okay, thank you. Unless anybody had any more questions.
No.
I do have several people registered. I'm just not
Okay,
sure
we'll
if they're
start
in
with that.
favor or in opposition. Yeah,
Well,
well, one of them I'm aware. So-
oh,
Ms.
Oh.
Denise Fuller, are you in favor or opposition? Okay,
Probably all.
I wasn't sure.
if nobody else will speak in favor of it, we'll start with opposition. So,
Okay, so the first is going to be Mr. William Lane, Senior.
Thank you, and I apologize for the outburst.
That's all right. Can you get a little closer to the mic?
I thank you guys for having me up here, and I apologize for my outburst. My property is the entire east side of my property and the southern side of my property that is on their property line. All I'm worried about is all my neighbors that I talk to, we live out 20 miles away from here and 25 miles away from there to be in a quiet zone, not to have hundreds of cars going in front of my house, which is about 300 feet is their exit and their entrance. Now, that being said, the lights, the noise, the extra cars and all, what is that going to do to livestock that I have on my property? So when they have their events, do I have to stay up at night? I go to work at 4 o'clock in the morning. I have to stay up at night and make sure my livestock does not jump the fence, jump out front of cars. Is that what I'm dealing with? if you've ever had a horse, and seems like I heard a while ago about having the police to monitor this whole time. Well, as a mechanic, I've worked on automobile cars that belong to the police. They have two buttons, a rotor and a strobe. If you put a strobe light and some critters that I have on my property, they will go nuts. Are they willing to, which is about 300 feet away from my property, and have strobe lights out there, blue lights, whatever, direct their property, gonna deal with what's gonna happen to my critters around the house? You know, we've been there since 1972. And my taxes been paid, and I'm not sure why I should have to live next to a carnival, because they're already, without your okay, selling tickets for this. I have a thing here that says that they're gonna run 100 cars every 30 minutes. They just testified that they're gonna run 200 cars every 30 minutes. It's not a 4-lane highway. And and this is my eastern boundary of my property and my southern boundary of my property. And I'm worried about what's gonna happen to me, my elderly mother, and what's gonna happen to my livestock when they can't, I know they wanna run people through there every 30 minutes, but have you ever seen put 15 people together and they can run through? Somebody's gonna stop, take a picture. You know what I'm saying? Now we ganged up. So as my elderly mother with heart problems, why they have our local EMS sitting over here to protect them, what is happening to my parents that's 20 miles, 25 miles from the nearest hospital if there's a problem with 250 cars backed up within 350 foot of their driveway? And that is my situation. And I hope y'all see my situation. Could it work out if it was just a one-time deal? Fine, look here. But why do I need 650 parking spots for a drive-through? And it's wrote in here that they're gonna do this year round. You give this up today, and it's plain language in here that they're gonna have football games. They've already said that they're gonna have limited amount of tickets. So if you're not on their board to have a ticket, you might not get invited to come in there. I don't have all the money in the world. I work every day, and I show up at 4:30 every morning to work. Thank you, and I appreciate y'all's time, and I'm sorry, I'm real passionate about this, but it's my critters at the house that's been there for 40 years.
Thank you, sir.
No? Okay. Next is Mr. Jeff Nozier.
I'd like to start by telling y'all thank you. Could I ask you to pull that map back up again of the parcels, please?
Jeff, could you go up to the microphone?
Yeah.
State your name and address, please.
My name's Jeff Noza. I live at 2128 Horse Stamp Church Road. I want to let everybody up there know, I live where that red rectangle is, right outside of it. So I wanted to start by talking about a couple things, but I just thought it was important for everybody to put a conjunction to it. Some stuff that I've seen brought up to my attention, and I'll do my best to get it under 3 minutes. But some of the stuff I did just hear that was over beyond what I heard earlier is the 100 cars per 30 minutes. We all just sat here and heard 200 cars per 30 minutes. Everybody can act like they didn't, but that's what I just heard on the record. They live on Jekyll Island. They do not live on a horse stamp church road that's gonna get lit up every night. They're lining their pockets so they can buy another place on Jekyll Island while we're trying to live in the country. It's not right. How many employees are they gonna bring over for their employment tax that's coming from Jekyll Island to set this up that I've been watching for the last 2, 3 weeks? You ask you people around here, how many 18-wheelers have been pulled in there? Tell me they're not turning on lights. I've sent pictures and I'd like to bring some pictures to the counter of lights being on. I can deal with a lot of things. I can't deal with a liar, and I'm gonna sit here and pinpoint some stuff that's not right in this community, and it needs to be heard at the right level. If I could give some pictures here, I've got some pictures of the culvert where they're gonna be exiting. That's all bent up, busted. I don't think it's gonna handle 600 cars. I guess that'd be an hour and a little bit over. Couple tour buses. I don't think it's gonna handle that. I'm showing you a couple pictures of the road that you guys can pass down, and I don't need them. There's some pictures of the lights being on. There's pictures of multiple places in my property where there's absolutely no buffer. As you can see in this picture, way up here, there's nothing around it. Everybody that's seen the map, there's an in and there's an out. The in's on one side, the out's on the other side. And if it is going to get approved, I suggest we use a commercial buffer because that's what the right term would be, being there for commerce and making money. But if I could, do I pass them to here?
Yes, sir.
But some of the stuff I'd like to continue to go over really fast. They got largest support of some kind of venue in the state of Georgia, not the Waverly or Camden. And I don't know if anybody else caught that, but I sure did. What happens when they turn into the wrong driveway? How many people do I have to worry about coming in the house? What about the safety of my house? What about the safety of my family, my dogs, the stuff that go on a regular basis? It all should be heard. The sheriff says he'll direct traffic. Did the sheriff go around and talk to the neighborhood and ask how many people are concerned about the safety of their house, their welfare? That's important stuff to me. Did the person at planning and zoning specifically tell you that they were going to be 100% for it, or are we taking it from a letter? Should we give them some of the information that nobody in the community knew prior to the last meeting? That yes, everybody was lucky 3 people were there and didn't get through that fast. But some of the stuff that I noticed, somebody told me that a minute ago that it was 12 to 1,300 feet between driveways. Y'all, the average car is 15 feet. So if they bring these cars in, how many feet are we going to be talking about cars and how many miles is that? Let's really think about it. Let's really think about what's going on. The special use. You guys heard what the special use definition was when we started? Does that mean change the neighborhood? It's all ag. So why are we going to change the neighborhood? We obviously came out in force. I don't know the last time I've seen a meeting like this. Wreck on 95. All the people that live there, I don't know where all y'all live, but if there was a wreck on 95, that road is gridlocked. There is no getting around that road. If somebody comes up and now we have a line of traffic, has anybody been on that road and watch how far cars go? Now all of a sudden you got a car that's stopped and you got an 18-wheeler hauling down 110 going out to 82 because that's why we put the road there is to save them some fuel. And now all of a sudden they got to slam on brakes because we got a line of cars we can't get off the road. You are not going to put 200 cars in a driving lot, in a single parking lot in that amount of time. You're asking people to leave in 60 to 90 minutes. Is the people going to spend their money in 60 to 90 minutes and really get out of there? Are they queued when they got them cars? Okay, they got them, they're queued to go in. What about the ones that came that weren't able to get in? Where are you going to turn them around? In the same place you got them queued? We can pull up different maps. But some of the stuff that I have to go right to the facts of is as I sit here, some of the decisions that y'all have to make and listen to us is UDC section 1213B. Let's read them. Will the proposed special use be consistent with the stated purpose of the zoning district in which it's located? Anybody? It's ag. Help me understand that. There's one. Number 2, is the proposed special use compatible with the goals, objectives, purpose, and intent of the comprehensive plan? I went through your guys' comprehensive plan. I didn't even know what it was. But now I've seen a future land use map that clearly says what ag is supposed to be, what rural it's supposed to be. But yet we're going to make an exception for somebody that lives on Jekyll, pays their taxes on Jekyll, to come do this. And then we got to do it. Number 3, will you establish the special use to impede normal and orderly development of the surrounding property or uses prominent area? I don't know. Let's go put it right beside Osprey Cove and see how many people like that. Because it's not going to do it. Let's be real about it. How many people are going to like it? We've all worked hard to have where we live, and we have the right to hear it. Number 4, is the location character of the proposed special use consistent with the desirable pattern of development for the local general? Is that where we're heading? If that's where we're heading, let everybody know so we can all put our houses on the market before it happens. Because it's not fair to us that are paying the taxes. And I just paid, I think, an $8,000 tax bill. I don't know about everybody else, but I paid a big chunk myself. And I deserve to be here. That's just my house. I own 9 other parcels here in the county too, commercial buildings. Is the type street provided being able to serve the proposed special use? It's a 2-lane highway from 17 to 95 with not a single pull-off. What are you gonna do? When somebody breaks down their car, that's just one thing, or a wreck on 95, if you got an ambulance. Next one, will access in and out of the property be adequate to provide traffic for the pedestrian safety of the anticipated volume of traffic flow by the expected emergency vehicles? We've already heard it, and I'm gonna start by saying the same thing too. She didn't try very hard to go knock on neighbors' doors, because I was successful. For everybody on 95 to 17, because I care. This is not right, and I don't think it's right. But I just wanted to throw that out there for everybody that says, my gate's been broken for a minute. You could have drove right in. I just fixed it 2 days ago. Will the public facilities such as schools, water, sewer, utilities, and police, fire protection adequate to serve the special use? I don't know. It depends on how many damaging things we have going on. If they all get pulled a different direction, but why are we going to put it to line somebody else's pockets? Will the hours, manner, operation of special use have no adverse effects on other properties in the area? Y'all see my house. I have 2 straight A kids in high school. And why am I going to have to worry about the noise and all the extra lights for somebody else to line their pocket and jeopardize my children's well-being and their education? It shouldn't be. Will the height, size, location of the buildings and other structures? Guys, read the map. Everybody got one? I'm sure you've seen the packet. 50-foot tall Christmas tree. I'm all about Christmas. Let's do it. But a 50-foot Christmas tree when nobody else can do it, when they're problems for a permit? Why did it slide through? Why did it slide so fast? This one right here. Public Works has granted the approval contingent. Well, the very last part of this, it says the cost of system repaired in the Horse Stamp Church Road. Now, are they going to prepay from 1795 that we just paid how much money? Y'all commissioners probably know. It probably wasn't cheap. And but the neighborhood, how long was it overdue by raising hands? It was way overdue. So now they get it and they're going to burn up our new asphalt. There's certain things that are fair. There's certain things that aren't fair. Some of the stuff that I want to tell you. There was a majority of people that knew nothing about this when I knocked on their door and handed them a packet. They said, we didn't get a letter. I called a commissioner and they said, well, it's not our job to get a letter. The commissioner in my District 1. That's where I was at. And I said, well, okay, you shouldn't get it. But you know what? I have pictures of the sign not being up. And in Georgia, Florida, the guy took a picture to show a now hiring sign. I went at halftime of the Georgia, Florida game and the sign was up. But that morning, the sign wasn't up when he took his now hiring picture. Y'all can tell me whatever you want. It wasn't there. I leave there every day looking to the right. When I take my daughter to school, there was no sign. So it is fair for the community to know what's going on and me not have to take my time for a week to go out and tell, for or against it. They should be able to know. Some of the other things that are in your standards governing considering a zoning change. Is the request a logical extension of zoning boundary that would improve the pattern of uses in general area? No, it's not. Is the request of illogical extension of a zone boundary that would intrude a damaging volume of commercial industry? It's commercial. High density use the stable neighborhood? It's not what we need. Would it change to be likely to lead to neighborhood deterioration? I'm leaving. Y'all approve it? I'm deuces. You'll get less taxes from me. Don't matter to me. I'm just not going to live somewhere that I don't feel like the community can be heard. Straight up. Is the zoning change generally unrelated or either existing zone to pattern development in the area? What are you going to consider it to an ag petting zoo that has fruits and petting animals in his ag land? And John does a lot for the community, so we can't really compare it to John. These are different level people. Could the uses in this request disrupt existing neighborhood characters? I think so. I feel very strongly that it will. Will the request require a major change in existing physical stability? Yeah, everybody can decide that. What is the request? Irrevocable limitations of the area of the future plan. We could go on and on. You guys know what the standards are. And I thank you for letting me have a little extra time because I know everybody else had the extra time. And I got just a few more things I think is very important for y'all to hear. Standards of consideration for the special use. Is the proposed special use compatible? Oh, I'm sorry, I just went over that one. The traffic plan. Let's talk about the traffic, guys. How many people have been to a venue that they want you to go that way, but you're going that way? Or you get stuck behind traffic trying to get down the road, and now you got a 4-wheel drive that you don't care, you're just gonna start jumping ditches. Or you leave the villa and you know what, I'm gonna drop the cooler off in front of the place when I leave. They are not gonna handle it. I've seen the traffic backed up. You can't handle 200 cars in, you can't handle 200 cars out. And if they did, If they have to exit, let's ask one logical question. What, do they come back in the entrance? You said you're gonna turn them around, one in, one out. How are they gonna turn around and get them out? How is that not going to just the neighborhood or the get out and confuse the cars? And go back to that. Now the call line's up. Well, who wants to turn around in my driveway? Now all of a sudden I got people, no, do not enter. And it's just another thing that I don't feel like in my money I pay in taxes, I should have to deal with. You can't make people turn either way. The average car is 15 feet. The last thing I want to talk about is your future land thing that you guys put in there. You guys wrote that book. I just read it. In that book, there's a lot of emphasis on that ag zoning and the rural zoning and the way we're going to keep it. I believe we're one of the few areas in the town that are still country. I feel like for the people who spent their money to live out there and work, we have the right to live that way. And if anybody on this board or anybody in this room that don't live by us wants to move this thing out by their house, speak up and let me know. Because I wouldn't want it, and I don't think anybody else here would want it right beside their house. Some of the stuff, they obviously don't care. They sold tickets, they advertised, they knew what they were doing. Do whatever you want. If you put your eggs before the eggs before the hatch, then do what you got to do. But I don't think it's the proper way to handle business. Last thing I'm going to leave it on is the SWOT, the analysis that I read through you guys. If you read through them, I'm not going to do it right here because I'm not going to waste everybody's time. But as integrity people at the commission that worked on how to build that whole book, reading it myself front to back twice, can you sit there as a commissioner and feel that you're not going to be making a wrong decision when you have this much people in the community telling you we ain't for it? I don't think it's the case. I think we should listen to the community. I think that what we need to do is think about why ag is what ag is and why we want small farms. The neighborhoods are not going to be safe and clean. The thing, and if you go through it, I mean, the hot air balloon, y'all, read the whole thing. What is an aerial hot air balloon? There's more stuff going up higher. I'm going to tell y'all, everything in my heart is for success of businesses. When you consider Horse Stamp Road the same as International Drive down in Daytona, we all have a different opinions. When you want to say that you go to the Wonderland in Daytona and everybody knows how big the venues are there, you can't tell me that our road on Horse Stamp's the same venue that's there and how you're going to get ingress and egress. Not even close. I've been down there a lot of times, a lot of events, and they got it down. They don't have the land, they don't have the roads, they don't have the support, and it's going to be a problem. And my bigger struggle I have with it all is what does it help the Camden County people if everybody works from elsewhere? How much stuff has been done? They sat here and told us that the road wouldn't get done. Did y'all see that map? Could you pull that map up one more time for me? Where the driving pattern? I'd like the driving pattern pulled up. Y'all, what did we say this is right here? But they're not going to drive on the edges. That's not going to be okay. I think that needs forwarded to DNR myself. I think DNR should go out there and take a look at it and see how close they are to the road. Because my years back there, I've never seen it that much. I've never seen them do it. The shuttles, the bash, the things that they want to do, it's not for my neighborhood. And if you guys feel like that, what we're going to do in a commercial level with a parking lot that looks like that, that's just the end, guys. That's just the end to a big long road. And if that's where it's going to be supported, it'll be very surfaced right here. I have done everything I can do. I believe they're going to have a nuisance in my house. If everybody reads the definition of a nuisance, that is the definition is what I'm dealing with. Changing my life for somebody else's well-being, basically. I don't think it's good. I don't think the river has been looked at enough for what they're going to drive right on the river because it is a Satilla River and very protected. But we should at least look down these avenues and make sure that everybody's getting to know. The last thing I got, if for some reason that the commissioners feel like that they have no choice but to go with it, I just kindly ask that they are required to put a buffer around my property so I don't hear, see, smell, or have any affiliation of what it is. The fire marshal's already told me the minute it shuts down 95, or the minute that the road gets blocked, it would be shut down. So we can sit here and listen to the people that took their time out of their evening to come talk, is what you guys are hired to do, and take your best judgment, and we'll be respected of it. I respect everybody's time. I appreciate y'all letting me have the time to talk about what it is. Last thing I'm gonna leave it with, I'm gonna pass this around. This is from a citizen down the road. September 23, advertising our local market. So this was before they did anything. They were getting that confident and a big money platform. And don't count your eggs before they hatch because they might not hatch the way you want them to. Thank you.
Ms. Denise Fuller.
My name is Denise Fuller. Our property is 1960 Horse Stamp Church Road. And I appreciate what the commissioners said before we started, before they opened the floor, but, and some of the things that I share is gonna actually build on what you shared and even what was just shared then, but these are the concerns. So the Southern Light Show Christmas drive-through, the activities that they want to provide is literally going to be in our backyard. And so questions, some of the things that were just stated, when you're talking about lights in our backyard and we have our animals, what is the in depth of what the lights are going to be? How tall is this going to be? What's going to block it or give us that buffer from our backyard to your property? So that was one thing. The other thing is hours of operation, the location of the activities, the increased number of visitors that's going to be coming. Listen, because it says Jekyll Island Association, you ain't gonna be able to play that down. Everybody knows Jekyll Island. So it's not gonna be just a small crowd of people. It's gonna grow if you said, you put in there how you're advertising, social media, this, that. It's already posted, people can buy their tickets. So it's gonna be a lot of people coming, and I believe it is gonna impact what we bought. That was our piece of serene, quiet, calm. You work in the city, you drive to your calm. That's our calm. We bought it. We're there for that reason. We don't want to give it up. So those are concerns there. The traffic entering and exiting between our properties. That's a concern. He covered so much, I was like, I ain't even gonna touch on that, but it's still a concern. Cause like he said, it's not even in condition for that much traffic to come through. How are we ready when we're posting dates November 18th through January 1st? We're not ready for this. The other thing, it's Stephen Lee. Is it okay if I ask them a question? Yes? Okay. No?
Hold on a minute.
Okay. Who
What?
gets the,
Excuse me, ma'am.
where?
What? Ask us the question that
Okay.
we can ask.
How do they own the property? Can you say that?
We'd have to look it up.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead whether we know that or not, but this is the things that's of concern to me. Okay. So I was talking about the serene, the calm, the peace. We are currently experiencing issues with workers on that property. I'll say it that way. When they want to do their little target practicing and shooting, okay, you're not just shooting a little gun. You hear automatic weapons being shot on that property. And then they target these explosive targets. Do you know what that does to our animals? And then to deal with it, and that property is locked off, and there is no accountability. Who do you talk to when there is a concern? You can't get on the property unless they've opened their gates for people to come. You call the sheriff's department, they come, but you're still sitting there because there is no accountability for the people that's working. So if you're bringing workers, who's going to be accountable for them? Because we still live there when everybody else go home. But from what I'm hearing, and I love the idea of new stuff, I just think it's a bad location. It's our backyard. From November 18th through January 1st, we're going to have a Christmas activity going on every day. It's like the fair in your backyard for 3 months. It's things that need to be considered about the families and the neighborhood. It said in there that, you know, they thought out in the planning how it affects us, but has it really been thought out? So ease of traffic flow, controlling the traffic flow. Planning is one thing, controllable is another. There are going to be instances you are not able to control. And we're going to be at our house with our animals, or our livestock, or our families. We're dealing it when people are somewhere else. The other thing I wanted to touch on is they were talking about the lighting. And then we got into a sound buffer and barriers. So just think of our property as it is right now. We're 2.5 miles, I think, from Horse Stamp Inn. Whenever they have a wedding, whenever they have an event there, from the distance that we are, I can stand in the backyard and I can dance to the music. You know why? Because I can hear it. There is no buffer, there is no barrier. What is going to happen when they're that much closer to us than Horse Stamp Inn? There has to be a lot of things that you all said, this needs to be in, the things that we're deciding on. That has to be a commercial style buffer, sound barrier, that we don't have to deal with it and give up what we chose to be out there for. So those are my things. Sound and light. I appreciate the neighbors, because one thing we do, we look out for each other when it's a holiday. 4th of July, New Year's Eve. We make sure we let one another know when we're getting ready to do fireworks. When it's gonna be all of the commotion in the sky and the animals, because they get so stirred up. So sometimes you're already prepared, you're putting your animal away. How is that gonna work for us? And I know there's more in-depth detail that they'll talk about. What would we see with the lighting, the sound, and all of that? But all of that affects our quality of living. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else registered, Katie? Anybody want to add anything new to that? Yes, ma'am. Come on up.
Well, my name's Hazel Lyons, and I live at 1990 Horse Dam Church Road. That's my son.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your last name one more time?
Pardon me?
Your last name?
Lyons, Lyons.
Thank
I only have one thing to say. Nobody has mentioned alcohol and drugs. My concern. You get a lot of people. You got a lot of alcohol and drugs. That's my big concern. And she mentioned the guns. We've already had a run-in with them about the guns. They were right on my property line, shooting the guns. My son went out and he asked them if they would please move further over because they were right next to where I have my chickens that I raise, and I raise some prize chickens. I lost 6 chickens that day because they were shooting right there, and they just went crazy, and they just run and hit the fence, and 6 of them died from hitting the fence so hard because they were so upset. But what was said, one said to the other one, "Oh, go ahead and do what you want to do. My dad's got this. Don't mind that old gray-haired man." That was the results of when we tried to ask them to please move further away and not be shooting the guns that they were causing. He told them that you're causing my mom's chickens to get really bad. And at that time we had already lost 2. And I ended up losing 6 of my prize chickens. And I have some more animals, and I don't want my animals to be hurt. and this is not good. Thank you.
Thank you. Pam, did you have anything to add?
Hi, my name is Rebecca Reinhardt. I live at 1632 Horse Stamp. First of all, I would just like to say thank you for what you do. I appreciate it. I wouldn't want to do it, but thank you for what you do. And to my neighborhood, thank you guys. I'm not, I don't know. I'm really, the idea of this, the lady, Miss, I can't remember your name, sorry. Lee, yes. I just wanted to say I really appreciate your entrepreneurialism, and I think it's a really awesome idea. I do. But I just really, I have a lot of, I don't know. I have a, I have an issue with it. At least now, for now, I just don't think that it's a good time. I don't think that it is, has been planned out and thought out about as, I don't know how long it would take to, to get it all worked out, the kinks, but like people have said before, we have families, we have animals, and this is seriously going to impact our families and our animals. And I just, until that part could get worked out, I'm not okay with it being right here. So, but I can't, one last thing also is the other property that is not, there's, nobody lives there, no humans anyways, but it is loaded with wildlife. And that, I mean, that wildlife is going to be affected. It just is. And I don't think I've heard anybody bring that up yet, but really that's the only thing that I can think of that hasn't already been addressed. But there is that place is a Still Island, is across from your parcel, but there's so much wildlife over there that that's going to be affected by this. So anyways, thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you. Yes.
He's got it right there.
My name's Alan Tucker. I'm an attorney from Brunswick, and I represented Mr. Nozier a couple of years ago when he built this pole barn right here, and Dr. Deese objected to it. Dr. Deese owned all this land that his children ran on, and I don't know if the commissioner, I don't remember if this was the commissioner that did, but they made him change his pole barn. But one of the things that Jeff didn't tell y'all a while ago was where he lives at. And I told him when he got through, he said, "How did I?" said, "You did great, except you never told him where you lived." And this is Jeff's property right here, through this line right here. His house is right there. And all these folks are gonna have to literally travel in front of his house, go in here, go around, and then they're gonna come out. His driveway is right here, where you can see it, and they're gonna come out here. And that's his main concern, is traffic. Not only is his main concern is that all this stuff is literally in his backyard, literally in his backyard. And around it, surrounded, but it's literally his backyard. But they literally gonna drive around his house for a month and a half. And he didn't bother to tell you all that a while ago because he didn't tell you where he lived at. Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on a minute. We'll give you a chance to rebut some of the stuff in just a second. Were you coming up?
Yes, sir.
Yes, come on.
First of all, I want to thank y'all for allowing us to come up here.
Can you state your name and address, please?
My name is Shane Barbary. I live at 2555 Horse Stamp Church Road. This afternoon, I emailed Ms. Bishop
an email from one of our residents, could not be here tonight. He asked me if I could speak for him and put out a couple points. I asked that that be sent to the commissioners. Did that get sent? Okay.
We got a copy of it.
Okay, yes, sir. Mr. Neal couldn't be here tonight. Mr. Neal's a 30-year minister. He's out of town right now on a ministry retreat, could not be here. But he owns a horse stamp pen. One of his concerns is the effect that this is gonna have on his place. Just to give you a little insight, what he does is he hosts retreats for businesses, for managers, but also a bigger part of that is he hosts these retreats for people that have PTSD and traumatic injuries. It's a way for them to heal. It's a way for them to get back into society. Now, with having this event right next to them, lights, flashing lights, strobes. I don't know if any of y'all have ever dealt with some of these patients, but these are trigger items. It can send some of these people into a trigger situation. So we got to take that into account. It's right next door to him. It's going to block his driveway. He also has horses on this place. Horse stamp has become a huge equine area. Most of us have horses. Most of us have livestock. Does everybody understand what this is? I know this gentleman here brought up horses. One of the things I do is my family and I, we started Blended Acres, which is a horse ranch. These strobes, these flashing lights on a constant time frame is going to throw these horses into anxiety. They're going to panic and they're going to take off. They don't comprehend like we do. Who's going to pay for that? Who's going to pay for a 1,500 pound horse that can't handle it and decides to go through that fence? There's medical bills we're going to have to pay for. There's fence repairs we're going to have to pay for. Then we're going to have to go out and catch these animals. Who's going to help us do that? I'll go help them if they need it. If any of my neighbors need it, I'll go help them. But is anybody else going to come out and help us? We invested everything we have in our property. We're right across the street from this place. 5:30 in the afternoon or in the evening, when we're all trying to come home and they're trying to kick this thing off, I'm sorry, that's a major inconvenience. I don't know about most of my neighbors. I go to work 3:30 in the morning. I come home at 5 in the evening. You think I want to have to try to deal with all this traffic to get to my home so I can relax and enjoy it? Has anybody thought about our school buses? I called Mr. Reggie at School Bus Transportation, talked to him about this, and I asked him, I said, what's the bus times? He said, well, up there for our area, your bus times are between 3:30 and 5:30, and that's for the regular school buses. That's not counting any late activity buses that's going on. That's not counting any buses coming from basketball practice, football. That doesn't count any of that into consideration. So now we're going to have this event running Monday through Friday, or Monday through Monday, and we're going to congest this road up and make everybody's life an inconvenience. She says she went and talked to neighbors. I'm right across the street. She never came and talked to me. The only person they did go talk to was the people next to them because they were trying to get power. They needed an easement for power. We've talked to everybody up on Horse Stamp Church Road in the last week. Not one person was ever talked to by them. We all have to operate within rules in this county. I've operated within rules as a business owner. I just kind of think it's a slap to all of us in the face. The tickets have already been sold. Planning has already gone into this. A meticulous traffic plan is not what I see. I see a headache. I don't know how much traffic control they've done. I can tell you I've done a fair share in my time. In my last profession, I've done a fair share. You're not going to make people go a certain direction. One, unless you're a firefighter, and two, unless you're a police officer. Most of the time, they don't even do it for the firefighters. So I don't know how many people are going to stand in front of a 3,800 pound car and tell them to go that direction. It's not going to happen. I called most of the commissioners in the last week to talk about this. We've got some autistic kids in the area. How's that going to deal? How's that going to play out for them? For most of us, we want the country life, and that's where we've chose to put our roots. That's where we've chose to put our money. If we wanted something like this, we'd have lived in Jacksonville, we'd have lived in Savannah, we would have lived in Hilton Head, we lived in St. Augustine, but no, we chose Waverly and we chose Horsestamp. We're asking the board to listen to us. Please do not vote this in. But when I talked to most of y'all commissioners, most of y'all had one comment, and I never had a comeback for it. Not a comeback, I just didn't have a stance, because it's one of those ones that's hard to really go against. That you don't have the right to tell somebody how to make the money. Well, if you don't have the ability to do that, then you don't have the ability to make a decision that's going to affect all of our lives, affect all of our inconvenience, and make things worse for us. Just somebody can make a dollar. I'm sorry, we can make money all different ways. It's ag, do it the old-fashioned way. It's what we're doing. That's how we're making our living. Thank you.
Anybody else against? Come on up, Steve.
I pity the decision that y'all have to make tonight, because this discussion tonight has convinced me that this activity is the wrong activity, actually a great activity in the wrong place. Frankly, when I had an earlier discussion with a couple of you commissioners about this, I was strongly supportive of this activity, because I thought that one had spent $10.8 million improving the Horsestamp Church interchange was to increase the activity in that end of the county. That's what we were told. We also know that a lot of the activity hasn't developed because the county hasn't invested in that area with water or sewage. And therefore it remains country. And it remains a kind of territory that I like to live in, slightly removed, but not too different from that. But what I find difficult about this conversation, and the reason why I'm standing up, is that most of the problems that I've heard well explained tonight, except for the traffic on the 2-lane road, also applies to the airport that you approved tonight. There'll be plenty of people who'll be upset having an airport dropped in their community. In fact, y'all haven't even allowed us to know where you're considering that airport. At least these folks are able to focus on the problem that's being dropped in their neighborhood. And I noticed you turned your 3-minute light off to give these people I'm speaking to the issue at hand.
No,
These people have been able to speak as long as they've wanted to speak about an issue that's important. And you're interrupting me. I didn't hear you interrupting them. And so the real problem is that there's contradictions going on in the way you conduct these hearings. And that opens you up to legal liability on both the issues because you're inconsistent.
Steve, this is a public hearing. The other was not a public hearing. Stay on topic or I'll have you removed.
I am about the conduct of this public hearing.
Steve.
Go ahead and have me removed. There'll be consequences, as you well know.
Cody, did you want to say something?
Really quickly, yes, sir. My name is Cody Smith. I live in unincorporated Camden County. We heard from a lot of great homeowners that actually live out on Horsestamp Church Road, people that bought those properties and built their homes there because they want to live in peace and quiet. I know this nice couple, they bought their property out there, and I'm sure if they were looking to build a home out here on Christmas Island, none of these people would be here tonight arguing with you, but they do want to have a business out there that's going to bring a lot of traffic and a lot of inconvenience for a lot of nights. So, obviously you heard the same testimony I did. I just think the best course of action would be go ahead and disapprove this event. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is that all that wish to speak against it? You got one more, one more?
I'll be really quick. My name's Tom Gamache. I live at 1999 Horse Stamp Church Road, directly across from the exit for this planned facility.
Sir, could I get you to spell your last name?
Gamache.
So close.
Doesn't sound like it's spelled. I'm a retired police officer. I've done 28 years municipal law enforcement. I've worked several activities like this. One of the agencies I worked for, we had a thing called Community Days. It was a once-a-year thing. We had 6 lanes of traffic available to vehicles coming and going to this event. It wasn't the size of what I've seen displayed in the maps in the presentation. And I apologize, this is brand new to me. I just learned about it maybe a week ago and was asked to show up. I wasn't planning on talking tonight, but with my experience for the community days, which wasn't even to this level, we had to have up to 15 off-duty officers working the entire festivities day and night, the whole time it was in operation. We couldn't handle the traffic, and we had 6 lanes of traffic available to us to get cars in and out. I live right across the street from the exit. You're going to have 200 cars, up to 200 cars every half hour coming out of that exit, shining into my property. I've got livestock. I've got chickens, I've got ducks, but those lights are going to be right shining into my property by my house. So for how many hours a day for a month and a half to 2 months am I going to have to watch a steady stream of high beams or headlights pointing at my house, interrupting everything that's going on in my house? I heard booms just over the weekend. I didn't know what they were. I thought they were one of the neighbors across the street, but these things were loud. And I even walked in the house and I talked to my wife. I said, boy, someone over there is shooting off something really big. I know what a shotgun sounds like. I know what an AR sounds like. I know what a 9mm or a pistol sounds like. These were nothing like that. I thought, what in the world are they doing over there? And I don't know if it was that facility, but it was across the street where that is. And I thought it was a neighbor, but I hear people telling me tonight about all these booms and bangs and the guns going off recently. That was probably what I heard also. I seen the exit. I walked over to get my mail today and I looked at the exit that they're planning on using. It's got a culvert, a small culvert. It's dirt that's sunken in, and you're going to try and put buses on this thing. She's talking buses. All these cars coming out of there. If you go down and look at this exit, you'll see what I'm talking about. I don't think that thing's going to sustain it, and it's eventually going to damage the property or the roadway that you guys just put in, which I love. It's great. Thank you very much for that. But that's all I got to say. I just can't see this thing as a feasible thing in that area. Plus, when I retired, my wife accepted a position here in Brunswick, and we had the opportunity to go into town, Brunswick, on the island. We could have purchased a house out there. We bought this house and this property because I needed something to have a peaceful place to go, something to enjoy my retirement, to relax, let the blood pressure go down from all the things I've seen over the years, all the things I've experienced. I love it out there. I love the quiet. You're going to ruin this. You're going to ruin it for a lot of people. People go out there for this purpose only. And that's all I got to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, anybody else wish to speak in opposition? If not, we'll give, well, you've already spoke once, Jeff.
I just want to say our Christmas Day won't be the same if we have to deal with this event with our families on Christmas. I just wanted to say that.
We'll give you a little time to rebut.
want to just address several of the issues that have been brought up. I always sort of live by the principle, love thy neighbor. And I have to say, we've been there since 2020 is when we closed on this property. And there are 3 people in this room that have come over to see our property. Our gate is open most days, and not one of them has contacted us or come through that gate to ask any questions except for 2 folks in this room. And I appreciate that a lot. The first thing I'd like to address is just some of the misinformation. We too heard the booms going off, but they were not on our property. We didn't have, our son was not there shooting and did not kill your chickens. That was not us. So I really just want to address that. That was not something that is us. Steve and I both shoot sporting clays, and we shoot them on our property. We live in, we've got this property in the country to be able to do that. I will say that people hunt on both sides of us, and when you live in a rural area and you're out there, you expect to hear people hunting, and they do. But we're not setting off any explosives out there or anything like that. I just want to clear that up. But I do want to talk about the light show. There is not going to be significant noise. People drive through the show. They can listen to Christmas music in their car. We're not blaring any kind of music out. We do have out where we're going to be serving some barbecue sandwiches. We do have a little DJ, so kids, if they want to wear their Christmas socks and come dance on Saturdays, we're going to have where they can do a little old-fashioned sock hop out there. But it's not amplified. It's not projected anywhere. And if you really look at this map, it is out probably close to 2 miles from the main road. And this is a remote area out here, so there's not any neighbors that are going to really see or hear that, because it's out on this designated Christmas Island area. So from a noise standpoint, I can absolutely, with tremendous affirmation, say, we occasionally hear the wafting of, loud wedding music from the Horse Stamp Church Inn as well, because it carries across open areas. But, a kid's sock hop is a little bit different than a wedding band. We're also going to have some gospel groups and a small string quartet are scheduled to play. And a little small children's group is going to be doing some activities, as well as a magician for the children. So noise-wise, I can absolutely allay those concerns. There are not any strobe lights that we will have on the property. I'm one of those folks that's very sensitive to that, and we certainly understand that. We've spoken with the folks at the Horse Stamp Church Inn and understand their concerns with that, and we will not have any of the strobe lights that will be happening out there. I do want to talk about the buffer, with the lights. And another thing I do want to clear up is the number of people coming in and out. We certainly don't anticipate having 200 cars every 30 minutes come to this event, but we have parking capacity on our property if they did. And so that, I feel like in explaining that, maybe I was not clear that we anticipate 200 people every half hour coming in and out. We can accommodate that number on our property if 200 people showed up without it affecting the traffic on Horse Stamp Church Road. I also want to talk a little bit about the buffer. So most of the folks here seem to be 2.5 miles away. But Mr. Noser, who's right here, if you'll notice the greenery, when he built his barn that wasn't to code, we offered to exchange property for him so that it could remain. And in looking at this, we were going to, we offered to allow him to keep the barn. Of course, he had to change it because it wasn't in code, but but either way, we really examined the tree buffer, and you can see there is significant tree buffer between him, and there are no lights on that portion of the property in this big open field. They're coming down the car line. And significantly away from his property. And Steve also showed, this is where the car line is, and the lights don't start until this first pond right here. So there is a significant distance from the road, because when you're charging for a light show, you don't want it to be something that everybody and their brother can drive by and see from the road. So it is very private back through there, where the lights are seen, and very few.
Excuse me, please hold your comments. Go ahead, please.
Are able to be seen from the road. The other property owner on the other side right here to the left-hand side over towards the exit right here. Yeah, that's still a good distance with a significant, right down here, with a significant tree barrier between them and where any lights would be seen there as well. So there is a significant natural barrier of trees between both of those properties that are nearby.
Now, I ran some,
Introduce yourself.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm Steve Bauman. I ran some tests this week. This is probably why he got some pictures. And I do want to clear one thing up real quick for the county commissioners here. The yellow sign that got put out in front of our property notifying about all this, that sign has never been moved. So if it was moved, it was by you, not by anybody.
Don't accuse anybody.
I wasn't. I said, if it was moved, it wasn't by me. Well, then I accuse you.
Yeah, we didn't move. we didn't move that.
Anyways,
Yeah.
I never moved that sign, just clarifying that, okay. All right, anyways.
Can you speak in the microphone, please?
I'm sorry. I did a test right here. I have some lights right in this little section, right here, the nativity, and they're little stars that hang up into the trees. And that's what I did right here. So I drove down the road to see if you could see them. You couldn't see all of them, but you could see some of them through the trees. Now, those lights, they're not strobing, they're not flashing, they're soft white. They're not even bright white, they're soft white. So they're no brighter, or not even close as bright as when he lights up that barn over there, and it looks like you can see it from NASA. So if these lights here are bothering an animal or anything, certainly this does, and anybody else's porch lights do as well, because they're not that bright to be making a horse have to go crazy or anything of that nature, or any of these other lights. They're Christmas lights. They're not strobing bright lights like you see at a dance concert or something like that. They're just hanging out in a tree. And this 40-foot Christmas tree that they keep talking about is a blow-up tree. It's a blow-up from a, it has no lights on it. So, I mean, there's a lot of misinformation getting thrown out here that nobody knows anything about. If you want to know about it, come through my gate. It's always open, and you can.
Direct your comments to me.
They can come through my gate and come ask me. They've not come to me no more than I've come to them. And you're right, I should have gone to the neighbors and tell them what I'm about to do. But anyhow, I just wanted to clarify a few things there. And as far as I'm the one that shoots the guns, those guns is a 270 and a 243. So these loud booms and blowing up, again, all this accusations and all these, I don't know where they get their information from, but it's 100% inaccurate. I shoot my guns right here. That from there to there, the way a crow flies, is 3/4 of a mile. 3/4 of a mile. So unless your horses or animals have x-ray vision or something, I don't know how that's going to bother them. Now, as far as cars going through and having a headlight right there, I would say, well, I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how to fix that. But these Christmas lights and these strobing and all this thing here and these booms and all this, yeah, none of that's accurate at all. I'm sorry. I just had to get my 2 cents in.
Yeah.
Could you repeat your last name, please?
Bauman.
Oh, it was Bellman? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think the real focus here is, this is a cancel culture. We cancel a lot. And I don't think we need to cancel Christmas for kids that are counting on coming through and seeing these lights. There are Boy Scout troops, there are senior citizens centers, there are church groups that have made their plans to come through. And one thing I do want to address is we went to the planning and zoning office in March of this year. This isn't a last minute thing. And it was our understanding that we simply needed to come back in October, fill out a special use, for a special events permit, pay $150, and that's all we needed to do. And so I'm an early planner. So I show up in September. I pay my $150 and we think all is done. Well, Joey calls back. He says, Lee, he said, what we really need to do is take this to the commission and through planning and zoning and let them give this a stamp of approval. We had already contracted for our advertising, for our marketing. So we just really don't want the commissioners to think that we put the cart before the horse, because that was not our intention and we were following what we thought was proper. I will say this, that process that we have gone through the sheriff's department, with planning and zoning, with the roads folks, with the fire department marshal, they've been out, they've walked, they've looked, they have examined, where we've got a back gate, where we can get emergency vehicles in and out. The fire situation, it has been an absolutely thorough assessment of that. And for that, we are very grateful for your department. But I think it's important for you folks to realize that we weren't assuming that this was a yes. But as business people, this type of event, it takes a lot of planning, which we've been doing since the first of the year. So just so that there's an understanding about that.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Now, y'all have already had your chances, but she had a chance for a but. No, sir, that's not.
Here's a buffer, fellas. Can I take the picture and show y'all? This is in my backyard, looking right here at Christmas. So you're telling me there's a buffer. Y'all, 21, 28 horse dance room. Look at it. If they wanted to make an exception.
Y'all have had, Jeff, I understand.
They should have come and seen me. I should have.
Jeff, I understand. You had your chance to speak. The way these public sessions or public hearings happen is the applicant has a chance to speak. Y'all have the chance to oppose it. Then they have a chance to rebut it. That is over now. We
have an additional public hearing item.
Yes, we're going to take a 5-minute break and then we'll get back on it.
Oh.
Okay, Joey, this is a resolution of approving a de-annexation from the city of Kingsley.
Can you hear me? The next item will be consider a resolution approving a de-annexation of 3.3 acres from the city of Kingsland. This property is located in District 5 on Joseph's Court. Now, since the applicant is requesting to de-annex from the city of Kingsland, a zoning will need to be assigned to this parcel. As you can see from my aerial view here, the parcel that is highlighted in blue is the parcel that is requesting to be de-annexed. The parcel that is highlighted in red, the applicant owns this parcel, which is currently located in the unincorporated. As you can see here, again, highlighted in blue is the requested de-annexation parcel. And the parcel highlighted in red is the one the applicant owns, which you can see that it is currently zoned AR. Everyone in this cul-de-sac is currently zoned AR. Now, as I stated, prior to any permits being issued or any subdividing of this property, a parcel will need to be, the zoning will need to be assigned to this parcel. The applicant has requested an AR zoning. In conjunction with this will be a future land use of rural residential. I will note that this request is contingent to the de-annexation process being approved by the city of Kingsland as well. So staff and planning commission recommend approval of the de-annexation and zoning.
Does anybody from the public wish to speak in favor of this item? Come up.
Yes, sir. My name's Anthony Lawhorn. I'm the owner for this. We built our house.
Can you get a little closer to the mic?
Sorry,
please?
we built on that front lot. We've developed that lot. And so the intent here is just the back lot is in the city of Kingsland. Our front lot is just in the county. So we just are looking to seek relief from the city of Kingsland tax for the back lot, since there's never going to be any city services provided for that property. That's all I have.
No, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak in favor? Anybody wish to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing none. We need a motion to adjourn the public hearing and reconvene the regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
First and second, all in favor? All right, you want to start it off again, Joey?
Yes, sir. The first item will be a request for special use approval to allow a seasonal outdoor event on a property located in District 1 on Horse Stamp Church Road. Planning Commission would recommend approval with the conditions as noted.
All right, can I get a motion on this item?
I know normally there's a motion to be made to get into discussion, but I feel like there's a lot of discussion to be had before we can get to a motion.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Well, we can have our discussion first.
I'm good.
All
right, I have a question.
Okay.
It was stated by the sponsors of this that they're 3 miles from a main road. What main road is it 3 miles from?
I think that's 95.
Okay, it has nothing to do with 95. 95 just happens to be out there. It wouldn't matter if it's 3 miles or 30 miles. I consider Horse Stomp Church Road, by gosh, to be a main road. Thank you. Been here a long time. That's always been Horse Stomp Church Road. So I don't think it's 3 miles from a major road. I heard 3/4 of a mile from the road to the property. I am opposed to this light show. I think we've gotten the cart before the horse, or the manger before the camels, if you will, in keeping with the Christmas theme. And I don't think it's fair to the people who bought into that property, who've lived there peacefully for those years, to have this thrust upon them. And I am going to be opposed to it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion. Make a motion to oppose.
Okay.
A second.
First and second, to oppose this. All in favor? Motion. That is killed. All right, this brings us to the next item, Joey.
The next item will be consider a resolution approving a de-annexation of 3.3 acres from the city of Kingsland. This property is located in District 5 on Joseph's Court. Staff and Planning Commission would recommend approval on the de-annexation as well as the zoning that is being applied for, which is agricultural residential.
I'll make a motion, we approve this item.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? You're back in the county.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, Nancy, you're up.
Good evening, Commissioners. This agenda item is for budget amendments for the fiscal year 23 budget. The amounts are reflected, are adjustments to revenue and expenditures as necessary to balance the budget. And it's really just two small items. One is for indigent attorney fees for juvenile court, and a very small adjustment to fuel for our fleet budget. It's just really to balance the budget for those departments. So we're requesting approval.
Can I get a motion on this item?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
First and second to approve the budget amendments. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Those opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries 3-1. All right, Kelsey.
Good evening, Commissioners. This agenda item is for your consideration to approve the Resiliency Operations Center Phase 1 furniture requisition from Mason Incorporated. Purchasing issued an invitation to bid and received 3 bids. Of the 3, Mason was the least expensive and most responsive bidder. Mason's bid came in at $93,796.58. Their bid came in under what is budgeted for the Resiliency Operations Center Phase 1 furniture. Staff recommends approval to purchase the Resiliency Operations Center furniture from Mason Incorporated. And I have some samples of the colors that we're going to go with if y'all would like to see them.
Okay. Can we get a motion on this item?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on going ahead with this bid award? Hearing none. All in favor? Those opposed? 3-1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. I bring before you tonight approval of awarding the change order for the contract for the Resiliency Operations Center Phase 2 for the Camden County Resiliency Center project. In your packets, you have there the breakdown of what the funding is that we have already allocated, what we still have left. And what we're requesting tonight is to utilize $1,127,384.55 from the general fund to fund Phase 2 of the Resiliency Center. Now, a little bit of background with the Resiliency Center and the CDBG MIT grant. When we originally had bid this renovation project out, we bid it out as one construction project with B. James. And when we received the bid back, it was significantly over budget. So we asked to split it out into Phase 1 and Phase 2 so we can get Phase 1 started with B. James and discuss longer for Phase 2. It's been it'll be a year in December that we've had time to discuss and try to find additional funding for Phase 2. And we still have one funding source out there that could potentially come through with the direct appropriation through the Congressman's office. We just have been delayed with that. And we really don't want to delay this project any longer as we have CDBG, MIT, and DCA timelines to uphold to for the rest of the project. If we get started with construction in December, B. James could have the whole project completed with all the rest of the project with the 800 megahertz radio system, the tower that's already built, phase one, and the backup 911 center, all being completed within the DCA required timeline of August of next year. For this, we request approval.
All right, can I get a motion on this item?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
We have a second.
Second.
All right, this is a motion to enter in the change order for phase two. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Those opposed? Passes
Thank you, gentlemen.
3-1. Thank you. Item number 9, Mr. Goodman, this is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is time and past time to bring any question of a spaceport Camden to an end. One definitive way to do that and to give the public the assurance that this will never raise its head again is for this board to surrender the operator's license back to NASA. Doing so will extract us from expensive voluntary lawsuits and cause us not to be wasting our time on this subject any further. I would like to make a motion to surrender the Spaceport Camden operator's license. Thank you.
All right, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Mr. Goodman, to clarify, you said NASA. Did you mean the FAA?
I'm sorry, if it's not NASA, it's the FAA.
Thank you.
All right, nobody wants to second it, so it fails for lack of second. All right, this brings us to reports. Calendar, Katie.
There's no changes to the calendar at this time.
Okay, county administrator comments. You got anything, Sean?
Yes, Commissioner, or Chairman, I know several of our audience has already left, but would just like to thank all of those veterans for those services, as well as the members of the board who are veterans. Just appreciate everything that y'all have done for our country. With that, we've got a couple of things coming up. One item for the board, we will be holding a Thanksgiving luncheon for all of the staff next Wednesday. I believe it starts at 11 a.m. So if you would like to come and enjoy some time with some of our staff, we'll be holding it here in the historic courtroom. And then from that, we are also going to remove the executive session, mainly just due to the timeline that we've had. If we need to, we will possibly hold a special call meeting here pretty soon for that. So
okay,
that is all I have, Commissioners. Thank you.
This brings us to the last public comment section of the night. Anybody registered, Katie? Anybody from the public wish to speak? Going once, going twice? Well, if nobody's got anything else, can we get a motion for adjournment?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor? We are done.